Epic orchestral music swells and fades. Good evening. Tonight, the eyes of the nation are fixed on Washington, where history is unfolding before us in real time. In a stunning turn of events, the Supreme Court has delivered a landmark decision, striking down President Trump's sweeping America First tariff plan, a cornerstone of his administration's economic agenda. This isn't just a policy defeat for the White House, it's a direct challenge to the very core of Trump's presidency, raising urgent questions about the limits of executive power and the checks and balances that define American democracy. The 6-3 ruling has not only halted the tariffs, but has also ignited a fierce and immediate confrontation between the executive branch and the judiciary, sending shockwaves through the political landscape. International markets are already reacting with volatility, and world leaders are scrambling to respond, holding emergency meetings to assess the global economic fallout. For President Trump, this is both a personal and political rebuke from a Supreme Court he played a pivotal role in shaping, making the decision sting all the more. His response has been swift and fiery, vowing to fight back with every tool at his disposal, a battle that promises to dominate headlines and political discourse for weeks, if not months, to come. Tonight, we'll break down the history behind this legal showdown, the complex arguments presented before the court, and most importantly, what this means for your wallet, your job, and the broader American economy. This is about more than just economics or politics. It's a battle over who truly shapes America's future, and what kind of nation we want to become. Stay with us as we unpack the decision that has not only stopped a presidency in its tracks, but may well redefine the balance of power in America for years to come. To truly grasp the significance of today's Supreme Court ruling, we need to revisit the roots of Trump's economic doctrine, specifically, his long-standing and controversial tariff crusade that shaped much of his presidency. Beginning in 2017, Trump made tariffs the centerpiece of his America First agenda. He argued that these measures would protect U.S. industries, revive American manufacturing, and put pressure on trading partners like China to play fair. The first wave of tariffs quickly escalated into a global trade war. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries hit American farmers and manufacturers hard, leading to uncertainty and anxiety across the heartland. While a handful of industries like steel and aluminum saw short-term gains and increased production, the majority of American businesses faced higher costs for imported materials and lost access to key export markets. According to the Congressional Budget Office, these policies ultimately reduced household income and slowed overall economic output, squeezing family budgets and raising concerns among economists. Undeterred, Trump doubled down in his second term, introducing the American Prosperity and Security Act. This bold proposal called for a sweeping, universal 15% tariff on nearly all imports, a move that would touch every corner of the U.S. economy. The administration insisted this was a matter of national security, necessary to protect American jobs and industries. But critics warned it would drive up prices for everyday goods, spark inflation, and risk plunging the country into a deep recession. This high-stakes gamble set the stage for a dramatic legal showdown at the Supreme Court, as both sides prepared for a battle over the limits of presidential power and the future of U.S. trade policy. The stakes could not be higher. The outcome would shape the future of American jobs, the direction of U.S. trade, and the delicate balance of power in Washington for years to come. Given the sweeping impact of these policies, a legal battle was inevitable, drawing intense public scrutiny and debate. And now, after months of anticipation, the Supreme Court's verdict is finally in, marking a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over America's economic future. The American Prosperity and Security Act faced immediate legal fire. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, major retailers, and farmers sued, arguing Trump overstepped his constitutional authority. The Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to tax and regulate foreign commerce. The White House cited old statutes granting emergency tariff powers, claiming foreign reliance was a national security threat. Lower courts split, paralyzing businesses and freezing investments. The case became a national debate over separation of powers. Can the president bypass Congress on massive economic policy? The Supreme Court took up the case, with justices grilling both sides on history and consequences. Justice Gorsuch, a Trump appointee, questioned the broad delegation of power. The outcome would set a precedent for presidential authority for decades. The nation waited for the court's final word. On August 2, 2025, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 3 against the Trump administration, striking down the American Prosperity and Security Act. Chief Justice Roberts' majority opinion reaffirmed that only Congress can impose sweeping tariffs. The court found the president's plan far exceeded any authority granted by law. A blanket tariff is not a scalpel for national security. It's a sledgehammer to the global economy, Roberts wrote. The decision united liberal justices and conservatives wary of executive overreach. Dissenters argued the president needs flexibility in a dangerous world, but the majority insisted on constitutional limits. The ruling revives the non-delegation doctrine, curbing Congress's ability to hand off power. Future presidents must now seek congressional approval for major economic shifts. The precedent is clear: transformative trade policy belongs in Congress. The balance of power has been reset. The White House erupted in outrage as news of the Supreme Court's decision spread rapidly through the halls of power. President Trump immediately took to social media, unleashing a series of furious posts and calling the ruling a betrayal of the American worker. His tweets quickly went viral, igniting fierce debate across the country. He didn't hold back, openly accusing the justices, even those he had personally appointed, of disloyalty and turning their backs on his administration's agenda. In a heated Rose Garden press conference, Trump's frustration was palpable. He vowed, "This is not over. We will find other ways to put America first." His words rallied supporters and set the stage for a new political battle. Allies in Congress quickly echoed his fury, denouncing the decision as blatant judicial activism and an overreach by the courts into executive authority. Some lawmakers went further, threatening investigations into the court's conduct and questioning the legitimacy of the ruling. A few even proposed stripping the judiciary of its jurisdiction over trade matters entirely, arguing that such decisions belong in the hands of elected officials. Meanwhile, Democrats celebrated the ruling as a major victory for the Constitution and the separation of powers, gathering outside the Supreme Court to cheer the decision. Senate Majority Leader Schumer declared, "The president is not a king. Today, the rule of law has prevailed." Even some Republicans, like Mitch McConnell, cautiously welcomed the return to legislative control over trade, seeing it as a chance for Congress to reassert its constitutional role. The decision has deepened Washington's already sharp partisan divide, turning the court's verdict into a new and volatile political flashpoint that is sure to dominate headlines for weeks to come. The battle lines are drawn, with both sides preparing for a prolonged struggle over the future of presidential power and the limits of the judiciary. The fight over trade, and the very nature of executive authority, is far from over. New executive orders and legislative proposals are already being drafted behind closed doors. Across the nation, Americans watch anxiously as the next chapter in this high-stakes political drama unfolds, bracing for what comes next. The Supreme Court's decision sent shockwaves through global markets, mostly positive. U.S. stock futures surged. The Dow jumped over 500 points as investors cheered the end of tariff uncertainty. Retailers, automakers, and tech companies soared, while steel and aluminum stocks dipped. Global markets rallied, and the dollar eased as trade fears receded. Oil prices stabilized, and investors shifted from safe havens back to equities. The verdict: Wall Street saw Trump's tariffs as a threat to growth. Economists quickly revised forecasts, predicting lower inflation and stronger U.S. growth. Before the ruling, many warned of a looming recession. Now, optimism is back. The decision removed a cloud of uncertainty for businesses and consumers. Not every sector won, but the broader economy breathed a sigh of relief. For now, the economic outlook is brighter. The ruling has deepened Washington's divides. For Trump, it's a rallying cry. He frames it as an attack by the deep state and global elites, energizing his base ahead of the midterms. Republicans, our split free trade traditionalists, welcome the decision, while Trump loyalists vow to fight on. The party faces internal battles over its economic identity. Democrats celebrate the check on presidential power, but must tread carefully with blue-collar voters. Progressives are torn, supporting the court's reasoning, but sympathetic to protectionist aims. The decision has thrown a grenade into American politics, reshaping alliances and priorities. Congress now faces pressure to codify the ruling or expand presidential authority. The struggle over trade is now a struggle over the future of American governance. Legal experts call this one of the century's defining separation of powers cases. The court has revived the non-delegation doctrine, warning Congress it can't outsource its core duties. Trump's legal options are limited, but he'll pivot, using regulatory tools, targeted tariffs, or non-tariff barriers. He'll also make this a campaign issue, pressuring Congress for new trade powers. Internationally, allies are relieved but wary. The debate over U.S. trade policy is far from settled. Foreign governments will watch to see if Congress acts or if gridlock persists. The ruling buys time but doesn't restore long-term trust. Congress now holds the responsibility to craft a coherent trade strategy. For decades, lawmakers ceded power to the executive. Now, the court demands they reclaim it. The question: can a polarized Congress rise to the challenge? The answer will shape America's economic and constitutional future. The world is watching. This Supreme Court decision is about more than tariffs, it's about who governs. It reaffirms that Congress, not the president, holds the power to shape the nation's economic destiny. No one, not even the president, is above the law. The ruling is a reminder of the checks and balances that protect our democracy. It forces a national conversation about America's role in the world and the power we grant our leaders. The president vows to keep fighting. Congress is under pressure to act. The path forward is uncertain, but the stakes are real for every family and business. This story is just beginning. The court has spoken. Now it's up to the American people to decide what comes next. Thank you for joining us. Good night.